Good evening, welcome back to DidsburyFM, to those who may be watching live or not, as the case may be. We're on to our third guest this evening, Phil Trow from BBC Radio Manchester. Phil, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Phil, can you tell everybody what you do?
What I do, so I present the Drive Time show on BBC Radio Manchester, which goes out between 3 and 6 every day, and I do the Saturday morning show, which goes out between 9 and midday.
Brilliant.
So yeah, every day of the week.
And you actually have been working with a variety of people. Now you're on your own, actually.
I'm on my own, yeah. I've got to talk
Yeah,
to myself.
I know.
It's bizarre, isn't it? In a locked room talking to yourself. It's not right, really, is it?
Well, you're very good, so it's good. It's good when you're on there, because you were on with Chelsea, and then
Yeah, I mean, I started it, what it was called GMR back in 1990s. That's
Oh, right.
28 years ago. I know, frightening. But I've done things in between, but
Yeah.
I've always kept coming back.
wow.
So yeah.
So how long have you been? Well, an employee? Are you an employee of the BBC, or how does it work if you're a broadcaster?
That is one of those questions that if you read the Times at the moment or the Sun, there is a bit of ambiguity as to our
There is.
employment
Yeah.
at the BBC, but I am, in all intents and purposes, self-employed.
Yes.
Even though I now pay tax and national insurance at source. But that's, that's a contentious issue, which I'm not going to get into at this moment. Maybe Jeff would like to chip in at that point.
Okay. Now, Phil. So, in the duration that you've been at the BBC, before you went there, what did you do? I mean, did you study to become a journalist or broadcaster? What was your route
No.
to being on the radio?
So it's just one of those bizarre sort of chances that when I was about 15, 16, so obviously you can't go in pubs.
Yeah.
My best friend, his mum, used to work in the canteen at Park Hospital in Davyhulme, and she used to do amazing chips and gravy. So on a Thursday night, we used to go in and we used to have chips and gravy, and because somebody who was working in the hospital radio station saw us there, they said, "Do you fancy coming and volunteering for us?" And we were like, "Yeah, okay then." And then we did little bits on air. And then I got my own show when I was about 16, 17, and a couple of people said, "Why don't you send a tape off to different
Wow.
radio stations?" And the very first one that I sent to offered me a job. So it was never intentional. I was working for the post office very happily. I'd got a summer job on Camp America, which I was going to go and do.
Oh, yeah.
And then this came along and I thought, well, I'll go and do it for a couple of months and see how it goes. And that was 1986. And so it was never an intention, it was never an ambition. And I just fell into it, literally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh. And if you had your time again, would you do it? Or is there a part of you that thinks, "Oh, radio, I'm sick of it now"? Because you do a lot of other things, which I'll come to.
Yeah. I think I would do it again. I'd probably do it differently. I
Yes.
think there's some things I'd do differently, but I mean, it's an amazing job.
Oh,
I mean,
it is.
it's like this, isn't it? You just go, you talk,
Yeah.
you meet lots of really interesting people, a lot of famous people, politicians.
Yeah.
You get to discuss all sorts of issues. So yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant job.
But the way that you've told us as to how you've come about it, I suppose perhaps not having one mic or formal training, it's amazing because you've got a really nice manner about you. I've been on with you, and I won't come on if you're not on, as you know. So how's that developed? Is that just come naturally to you, or from family, or practice?
Don't know really. I mean, I left school at 16, so I didn't do A-levels or go to university or college or anything. I think with the radio, as long as you can hold a good conversation, as long as you're interested in people,
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. If you're a people person, I'm a real people person.
Oh yeah, you are.
I love people watching. I love nothing more than if we're on holiday to lower the sunglasses and just watch everybody. And they've all got their own little characters and their own nicknames. Yeah. And I just like people. So I think if you like people and you're interested in people,
Yeah.
and then there's that thing that you know when to stop talking and let them talk, as opposed to, a lot of people, I think, when they think they've got their own show, think it's all about them.
Yeah.
And clearly it's not. It's about the people that are coming in to speak to you.
Wow. Well, I don't know. I think Chris Evans still thinks
Yeah,
that.
maybe.
So.
Who's he, by the way?
Yeah, it's a different show. I know
No,
my husband
I don't
listens
know
to
him.
him. I don't
No.
either. Well, Phil, can I ask you about some of the other work that you've been doing outside of the radio, or I suppose maybe the radio has enabled you to do? I don't know, because you're involved in a lot of charities, fundraising,
yeah.
running. Can you tell us a bit about some of that activity?
So I've worked for the Variety Club for, about 20 years now.
Wow.
And the Variety Club of Great Britain's got a big office here in Manchester, and the North West is one of their biggest areas.
Can you just tell some of our viewers and audience who don't know what the Variety Club is?
So the Variety Club is a children's charity, and it was set up, it was like an entertainment arm, really. A lot of celebrities got together, but then it's expanded beyond that, and it's not so celebrity based nowadays, and it just does the most amazing work with children, disadvantaged children, disabled children. You obviously know the Variety Club Sunshine Coaches, which you see everywhere. That's a big part of what we do. We do a lot of making dreams come true, so because I know people, at football and TV and stuff, we get kids involved in that, so that's a nice thing for me to do. But it's just a lovely charity, it's just an incredible charity, and when I've been in tears so many times when I've seen the letters that come in, from people who are wanting donations and are wanting fun, and it's just incredible the amount of people that need a charity like that. It's a bit sad, really, that they need that.
I know. It goes back to, maybe not Jeff personally, but my point about government should be offering a bit more support rather than austerity. But anyway, I'm not in politics or into politics. So tell us more about some of the other charities, because you've obviously St Anne's Hospice as well.
Yeah, I do a lot for St Anne's Hospice.
Didn't you do the night walk?
I did the midnight walks. I hosted that. Funnily enough, Sally Lindsay, who's I noticed is coming next month, she was there this time. We did St Anne's dog walks. I'm a huge dog fan, so we did that in Heaton Park and Withenshaw Park. We do the colour run. So we do loads of different things, and they just like me to go along, chip in, and be part of it. That's
so great, because you're giving up actually a lot of your own time to do a lot of this stuff actually, and it's charity, but you don't get paid for any of it. So that's really commendable actually.
It's nice to do though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's a nice thing to do.
It is. And that's my point about community, actually. So for you, because you're broadcasting to a huge area in the north and beyond, really, who call in and so on, and that is a community of its own. So what does community mean to you personally? Not just your radio community, but do you know what I mean?
I think we're in a very privileged position that we can help a lot of communities. I mean, as an example, there was a story recently in Droylsden where somebody dumped a load of waste on a farmland. We won't go into the whys and wherefores, but I mean, it was really affecting people, asthmatics, people were having breathing conditions, people were having nosebleeds, all of that, and they came to us, and we were able to press the politicians, press the landowners, and in that way we made a difference because it was cleared. So I think that's community, isn't it? Us all coming together and fighting the same cause, all being on the same side, really.
Not leaving people out. And so from that, what would you do with the £1 million?
Do you know, I'd close all the roads, I'd close all the businesses, I'd just have a big party. I don't think, we're not here for very long, are we? And I don't think we enjoy ourselves as much as we should.
No, here.
It takes a royal to get married, doesn't it, before we all get together? So I like the idea of just having a big party, just putting a smile on people's faces, getting everyone together, just a day where you can forget everything.
Amazing, that's a great idea. Maybe if we ever reach our target,
that's what
we should do.
I like it.
No, we've got other things. And are you having the great get-together at all where you live or anything of that sort? Street party or just get together with friends?
I live in a very little close, and so we all know each other. So we do street. Obviously, it's still, again, sadly, for royal occasions.
I know.
But we are in and out of each other's houses, and we meet. There's a pub just down the road where we quite regularly meet for food and stuff. So it's a lovely little area, and it's great, isn't it, when there's a new person comes in? They have to introduce themselves, and do they fit in? And
I know. Well, Sam, who's over there, is my neighbour. She's new. She's from Reading. And she's very welcome. She's embarrassed now. But I know what you mean. But it's good to be inclusive. Can I ask you about a sort of slightly tougher questions, if I may? On your show, you have all these guests on, and you've obviously got set questions. But do you ever have sort of burning questions that you want to ask, which are not part of the script? If you've got, do you know what I mean?
Funny enough, I very rarely work off scripts or off questions. So what I always try and do is you have a little route that you like to take the guest on. So it depends what sort of interview as well, actually. If it's a holding to account, if it's a politician or a councillor, then you know there is a certain question that you've got to get to. And that question will probably form the basis of the interview, because once they've answered that, there are things then you can ask from it. So if you've got too many questions written down, you just tend to lose the flow. And I think it's all about listening. That's the important thing. If it's a bit more of a, you know, an interview, say with a celebrity or whatever, again, I just like to talk. I very rarely write down questions, because I just find it's the conversation, isn't it? It's listening, and you know, and then you might go down an avenue that they don't expect. And I think, especially celebrity-wise, they get so many formulaic questions and answers. If you do something slightly different with them, then you tend to get something a bit. We had Rick Astley on Saturday morning.
What?
Yeah.
I don't think I was listening on Saturday morning.
And we just done the gardening phone-in, and so the first thing that I said to him was, well, do you want to stay on and do you want to answer some more gardening questions? And he talks about his dad who used to own a garden centre in Newton Le Willows, and then we went into his talking about him gardening, and he said afterwards, he said, I've never talked about gardening on the radio before, so just things like that. That's quite nice.
Yeah, no, that is. We met last night. That's our audience, met him.
I got a selfie.
Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I'm a huge Rick Astley fan.
Are you?
But I will let you go, don't worry. Can I ask you then about music? What are your top 3? And were you ever a DJ, like Jeff?
No, I never ever was a DJ. No, my favourite song of all time is the Cult She Sells Sanctuary.
What's
which
that?
is a bit left field. It was a hit in the 80s.
I don't think I was born.
Yeah. My favourite holiday song is Groove Armada at the River.
Oh,
I love that.
I love that.
And then, because I love Christmas, my Christmas song is a bit of Mariah. So I'd have to throw Mariah in there, All I Want for Christmas. Great song. Play it in September and get myself in the mood.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah. Guilty pleasure.
We'll play it on the radio for you. Phil, one of the things that you do is going into the schools, state schools, and talking to them about interview techniques. And I do it to talk about careers in my job. But you give a lot of time to do that. Look at CVs. We were talking about it on the radio, weren't we?
Tomorrow, actually, at my old grammar school.
Yeah. And what sort of things would you say? Because we have a lot of younger listeners about how to prepare oneself for workplace, CVs, how to present yours. What sort of things do you say to them?
I mean, just the very basics, really. Instantly, first impressions are so important. So the handshake, just eye contact is so important. If you can keep eye contact, you've won half the game, haven't you?
Yeah.
And then just be confident. Don't panic in an interview situation. There's just little techniques and tricks that you can teach them along the way.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I feel so sorry for them, really, because at that age, I think back to when I was 16, I think in that situation, I would have just been rubbish. And I've only ever done one interview for a job in my whole life.
Oh, right.
And I think now I'd just be terrible at it.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for me. So I think it's just giving them that bit of assurance, bit of confidence, a few tips along the way. And they seem to appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely, and it's a real boost for for anyone, really.
Yeah.
And to have a real live person. I was joking about Jeff having a real job before politics, because so many of them, of course, don't. But it's really good, I think, for young people to see people in the workplace who that can really influence their path and their journey. So. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
I hope you can come to my school.
Yeah, of course I will. Yeah.
The children's school. Can we give a round of applause for Phil, please? Now I'm going to open it up for some. Are we all right for time? Yeah. Okay, good. For questions, lady with the dark. Can you say your name and then we'll go to Jeff and then.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi. How often do you find yourself going, oops, I shouldn't have said that?
Do you know, it's weird, there is, and you'll know this coming on the programme, and Carl's been on before, it's almost like you've got this little filter in your mind that, because like everybody else, I occasionally have the occasional expletive, as you do, and sometimes something like that comes into your head, but it's amazing how you've got a filter which just prevents you from saying that. You know, I've done it now for 30 odd years, and I don't think I've ever said anything untoward. So no, it is weird. Once that microphone's there and once the red light's on and you've got your headphones on, I think it's just a different environment and you just take on that difference. It's not a different personality, but you know you're doing a job, you know, and you can't.
Although when I was on the other day, that boy who you said was 7 and he said he was 8, or the other way
funny,
around.
Wasn't he?
Yeah. And he said, "You got my age wrong."
Those are the best though, aren't they? We do this thing called Schools Out where we have young kids on. I just love talking to them because they just come up with anything, don't they? They really are funny. Yeah, he was good.
Yeah. Jeff, I think you had a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, as somebody who knows how to interview, when you're listening to other radio stations, or if you're allowed to, are there any other interviewers you think, oh, that he or she is a really good interviewer, or is there anybody you think is really annoying?
Yeah, it's quite subjective, isn't it? Really, I mean. I think it's changed radio, especially in terms of there's a lot of interviewers now that are more interested in making a name for themselves by trying to push somebody in one direction or get one particular thing out of them. You know, I suppose it goes back, doesn't it, to Jeremy Paxman, you know, when he asked the 15 questions one after the other. And I think everyone tries to repeat that now. They try to get, especially you've got like the commercial stations where, you know, the politicians are also on camera and they know if they can just get them, a bit like Diane Abbott last year and so on. And I find it very awkward myself. I don't mind people being on the spot and having to justify what they're doing and, you know, being accountable for what they do. But I think it's gone a bit tabloid, to be quite honest, and we're starting to look for something actually that I just don't think is particularly positive.
Yeah, good point.
And that was like the Richard Mayfield interview, wasn't it, last week? Where he was trying to make it a big point about the Richard Mayfield, where he was sort of asking the question like, right, okay, we won't bother with it now then. If you're not going to ask the question, then we won't bother. But the question for you is, obviously you've done a lot of the different shifts on radio. You did a long time on breakfast, and now you're on the drive time. Which you prefer, breakfast or drive time, and reason why?
Drive time,
Yay.
100%. I was getting ill at the end. Getting up at 4 o'clock every day, I'd done it for 8 of the last 10 years. And I just, you know, I take my hat off to any shift worker because it just is relentless. And everyone says, oh, you get the whole day to yourself though, but you just feel awful the whole day.
Yeah,
and then it suddenly comes around and then you're awake at 12 o'clock at night thinking, oh, I've got to get up in 4 hours, got to get up in 4 hours. I've got a headache, what am I going to do? So it's a great time of the day to broadcast breakfast, but in terms of what it does to your life, no. I'm much happier in the afternoon.
Man with the glasses.
In my opinion, Terry Wogan was one of the best things that happened to radio. Was there someone that you thought, not wanted to emulate, but someone you thought on radio that was amazing?
I never really wanted to get into radio, so it's a funny one really, but I think at the moment, I think Ken Bruce is probably Terry Wogan's replacement, isn't he? I just think he's a bit of a master at, you know, the one-liner, the anecdotes, just that relationship with the listener. I just think he's a very, very clever broadcaster. So, and I don't think there's that many sort of in inverted commas broadcasters left. Sadly, commercial's gone very music-based, very. They're all now network. So you know you've lost that local connection, and I think that's the thing that we offer. Is that, you know, you can phone up, you can have a chat, you can have your say on any subjects that we might be discussing or you want to discuss. So I think any broadcaster that can come in and do that probably are those that I admire. Yeah.
And what do you think about community radio? Obviously, we've
Brilliant.
got a community, but, you know, and the focus on community radios are about combating mental health. So there's a couple of ladies who've got a show before ours. I mean, what do you think about those as a route to people who truly want to go into, we're a community, we're just having fun for an hour a week, but people who truly want to get into radio and broadcasting.
Such a good way, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit like, I suppose it's almost now the hospital radio that I did.
Yeah.
But I think it's amazing, and I think the more people that do it and the more stations that open, and now you've got online, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got so many different ways. And I think it's a bit like, again, comes back to I'm just nosy. I like to know what people are doing.
I know.
It's like all these Facebook groups now. I live in Sale, and there's one for M33. I'm infatuated by it. I like scrolling down and say, oh, have you seen that? There's a bike that's been left on this road. Did you know? And then the dog goes missing, and you're following the story of the dog. And I think that's where community becomes community.
No, I have to stop you. There's one in Didsbury.
Oh, is there?
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm not part of it,
Oh.
and I think that's too much.
Oh, I love it.
People saying they left their purse in the Met and they got stolen.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Easy to find your lost phone, quite easy.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Actually, maybe I should join because that happens to me a lot. My hubby would say. Did you have a question from here?
So you've got the top 3 people that you want to interview.
Would
Yes.
want to.
Yeah. Good
Oh, that's
point.
a good. Well, I don't know why.
Trump? No, clearly not.
Not on demand, no. I don't know what Barack Obama started following me on Twitter, which I was very excited about.
No.
Yes.
I'm going to follow you. How do I follow you? Am I
Just
following
follow
you?
me.
Wow.
So I'd like to interview him because I just think he's inspirational. I think
Yeah.
I'd love to interview the Queen. I think the Queen would just be fascinating because obviously she doesn't do interviews, and there
No.
must be so much in there if she was honest
Yeah.
and frank. Oh, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? And she
Yeah.
doesn't suffer fools gladly, does she?
No,
So it
no.
would be a really. I did Margaret Thatcher probably 3 times. That's probably the closest that I've got
Did
to interview.
you?
Yeah, she was fascinating because again, she was one of those. The first 2 times I did her, it was down a line, so she was in a different studio, and then the 3rd time she came in and it was face to face. And I don't really get nervous before anything, but I was terrified about it. And I remember it was when she was doing the Downing Street years. She just brought out her memoirs, so she came in. So she wasn't Prime Minister anymore, and she was with this publicist. And the publicist came in, as they quite often do, and said, "Right, you've got 10 minutes. You can do this. You can do that. You can ask what this. You can't ask that." He disappeared, and she just said, "Just ask whatever you want and take however much time you want." And she was, you can see how, do you remember how she was depicted on Spitting Image with all these little Tory MPs as her minions? You could see why there was something about her, which, I mean, I wasn't a supporter, but she had that certain something, and to interview her face to face and eye to eye contact, and you knew if you'd asked her the wrong thing.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, she'd answer it. She wanted to flog her books.
Yeah.
But, you knew that, okay, I'm not going to go further down that road.
Oh, right.
Fascinating woman, though.
Yeah.
So, and I think the Queen would probably be similar. And then,
your third
and then
one.
a good one, Dawn French. I love Dawn French.
Yeah.
Yeah, never
Yeah.
interviewed her. I've done Joanna Lumley. She was gorgeous.
Have you?
Yeah.
We'd like to get her on, wouldn't we? Yeah. And Dawn French. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Do we have any last questions before we move on to our final speaker? No. Brilliant. Can we have a round of applause for Phil?